Okay. I think we should have some.
A very good morning to everyone present here today, our beautiful audience on a Saturday morning. A warm welcome to the Pathfinders, yet another talk series. And this time, the much felt, I think, experienced topic more than spoken about, stress. Leading a happy life is everyone's dream, but I think seldom we end up leading that kind of a life because we're often plagued by one common factor in our life, that is stress. Stress is a deep rooted cause that leads to only one consequence, depleting health condition. A very good morning once again. My name is Jyotika Shetty, along with four of my coaches here, Coach Hemant, Coach Uzma, Coach Mohammed Saeed, and Coach Arif. A very good morning. In today's society, we thrive on performance, competition, and perfection, which leads to an increase in stress. Our ancestors used to say, work is health. How many still believe that work is really health? Give me a show of hands. The smile says it all, because we now realize that things have changed. These days, society and even workplace actually puts an unparalleled pressure on us. The signs of stress are omnipresent and its consequences are numerous. The stress that we experience every day is essentially caused by several reasons that are inherent in today's society. Few of them that are prominent are intensified workload, constant search for perfection, and difficulty balancing work, personal, or family life. Stress touches all age groups. It's not exclusive to just the adult group category. Stress is also felt even in the children. However, some people are more deeply affected by its consequences, depending on their personal, professional, and health background. After a long period of time, uncontrolled stress can be harmful to one's well-being and health. And there could be symptoms of physical, emotional, psychological, or behavioral. And some of them that we also have experienced, I'm sure, are sleep disorders, anxiety, increased isolation, depression, relationship problems. While early in the morning, I don't plan to scare nor really bore you with this topic, but this is something that we have to speak about and we cannot avoid. And therefore, we've come here with this topic, which we felt that is very important to be discussed in this platform. In addition to observing all these symptoms that I mentioned now, stress contributes to the development of several chronic diseases, such as heart disease and cardiovascular. Several surveys conducted worldwide have pointed out to only one direction, that is, stress during COVID-19 has taken a jump. Take a look at this slide, which is a study conducted by US Census Bureau in December 2020, which clearly indicates the level, how stress has actually jumped. Hemant, if you can please display the slide.
Just a moment.
If you cannot, I can also. Do you
No,
want me
it's,
to?
it's
This is actually a study which is conducted by US Census Bureau in December 2020. And look at the results. It clearly shows in the US, 42% of the people reported symptoms of anxiety and depression in December 2020, as against the previous period, Jan to June 2019. And look at the jump. It's a jump from 11% to 42%. And look at the UK results as well. Indicates the same. Maybe the figures are slightly lower than the US, but it pretty much shows that the stress levels are high. Take a look at the next slide, which is a survey conducted in India. And the survey was conducted amongst 10,000 respondents across 203 cities in October to November 2020. The survey was conducted by YouGov. Hemant, next slide. The survey was conducted by YouGov, Mint, and CPR Millennial. The question asked was, since the outbreak of COVID-19, how has life changed for you? We can't see the next slide, Hemant. Can everyone see the next slide? All right, I think Hemant is, having some technical problems. No, it's no issues. We'll show you the slide a little later. But the results actually show that since the outbreak of COVID, life has changed for people. And the results clearly reveal that 62% of the people faced money shortfall, whereas 55% of the people had drastic change in their hours of rest, which clearly showed that they were involved, or the activities that increase the stress levels have actually increased. So their stress level has increased invariably during the pandemic. And that is really not good for the health and the personal well-being. Obviously, stress has very negative effects. However, when it is properly managed, it can also be good for you. How many of you knew that stress can also be good for you? Fantastic. Well, Syed, I'm with you. I really didn't know that stress can have a great effect as well. But there is also a silver lining to the whole situation. Stress can also be good, provided it's managed well. How can it be good? For instance, stress can help you meet daily challenges and motivates you to reach your goals. It can keep you focused. However, very few people know this. Considering the ill effects of stress and the fact that stress can lead to some positive directions in your life, we will discuss this very topic today in this forum and find out how you can manage stress and make it or take it towards a positive direction. We hope this will help you manage your own stress levels better. The format is as follows. Initially, we will not be getting into any keynote, but we will, as coaches, discuss 5 minutes each. We will be discussing on certain topic, and then we will keep the floor open for interaction for about 20 minutes. We will keep the floor for interaction with the audience. Meanwhile, keep your comments coming in, although we will take the questions towards the end of the session. But before I proceed, I would like to introduce the panel of Pathfinder coaches. And to begin with, we have Coach Arif Hussain here. He's a certified mindset and performance coach, an author, and a fitness enthusiast and mentor. He's a devoted family man and has been associated with healthcare industry for 20 years. He guides working professionals between the age of 25 to 45 to achieve their health and professional goals. Coach Mohammed Syed. Hi, Syed. An MBA over 3 decades of international work experience, a seasoned professional, author, and a certified mind shift empowering coach. Syed is passionate about writing, reaching out, and actively engaging in guiding people to overcome their life challenges through mind shift and transformation. Coach Uzma Golandas is a certified ambition and unambiguity coach who is extremely passionate about helping people with issues that stand between them and their success. Being an English language trainer and a personality mentor, she also focuses on confidence and communication related matters. She's a postgraduate from London and currently lives in the UAE. Coach Hemant Jain He just got cut off, but we already saw him. He's an unblocked coach and hails from Mumbai and is currently living in Dubai. He has a change management consultant background and has been a trainer for over 18 years and has worked in multiple countries and large organizations. With the experience of helping people and organizations manage change, he has now taken up the challenge of change management at an individual level. He helps professionals who find themselves stuck inside glass walls and glass ceiling. Hemant helps unblock to go higher and further in life and career. And last but not the least, myself, I'm Jyotika Shetty, a strategic life coach, international author, certified trainer, and an image consultant, helping people achieve their next level performance. I hold an MBA degree from Manchester Business School, UK, and experience of over 20 years in the corporate banking and entrepreneurship field. Now that I've spoken pretty much a little bit about stress, let's get into a little bit in detail with Coach Arif Hussain. Coach Arif Hussain, I would like to ask you, first of all, very good morning. I'd like to ask you a question, Arif. I spoke a little bit about stress now, but if you can explain to the audience, what exactly is stress and how does it affect our day-to-day life and how can one manage this in our day-to-day life?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Jyotika, for asking me that question. So I would like to start from the point that you had taken, that the stress actually helps you. So if we ask this question to ourselves, do we know that why stress is developed? Actually, it helps in pushing you to do something about a situation. It is designed to help you respond to a potential threat, to protect you, to keep you safe, and to help you become a stronger and a better person. Now, humans follow two strategies to combat a stress, either fight or flight. In both the cases, you develop a mechanism to manage the stress and evolve to do the same better next time. You get stronger to fight or faster to take a flight. Do you know when the same stress becomes harmful? It becomes harmful when you are stuck and not able to decide whether to fight or flight. Now, this state of confusion increases your stress. And the longer you spend in this situation, the more stressful and burned out you will feel. It is actually okay to feel stuck for a while and keep the situation as status quo until you have reached a decision. But do you know what keeps that stress alive during that period? It's your self-talk, the negative narrative that you keep telling yourself as well as others keeps your stress alive. There can be many possible narratives of a situation. What you tell yourself will define how long and stressful you are going to remain. Now, there is one more question, that what can help to overcome that stress? I'll share what helped me. First is distract your mind with something that excites you. Talk to somebody about it and also start journaling your thoughts. Journaling will be a good way to let your thoughts out, and writing your negative experience in third person will actually help you keep a distance from it. And over a period of time, you may try to change the narrative to a positive one. For example, I got sick because my body needed a break from all the hard work I was doing. Or I got this trouble because God wanted me to become stronger. Or if there is a tussle in office, my boss, so you can narrate it as my boss scolded me because he or she wanted me to become better at my work. Or my father had beaten me because he wanted to protect me from bigger harms. Now, I had been through some very tough times myself. Long-term stress can lead to anxiety, depression, etc. But there was a time when I was prescribed antidepressants. I am grateful that I found somebody to talk to about my issues openly. I was helped by him in multiple ways. He was there for me to talk to any time of the day. He was my mentor. But talking to him relieved me from the challenges I was facing then. And then simultaneously, I started traveling to places as I enjoyed traveling, swimming in the sea, hiking, playing sports, reading, writing, exercising. All these activities, the more I did, the better I get. Now, my health improved in mind as well as in body. Sometimes you need to make fun of the situation you are in. At times, I would tell myself that I will come out of the situation as a better and a stronger person. So this all helped me. Now there is one more aspect to it. Somehow somebody is linked with the stress. Many of the times people either start blaming others for their problems, and hence that stress is linked to that person, or they blame themselves. Now that person reminds us about the situation again and again. In such cases, first thing to do is to dissociate that person from the problem and remove a kind of power you have given to him or her over yourself. Distance with the person or spend as least time as possible, and eventually take ownership of the situation to change it. It doesn't mean to blame self instead of others. It is important to have a good relationship with your own self. So take ownership and act to change the situation. Foster resilience. Now, during stressful times, even a small challenge looks bigger as the mind aggravates it. Talking to somebody will help you see the problem neutrally. And if you are stuck, reach out for help. Over to you, Jyotika.
Thank you. Thank you, Arif. Very well said. Reach out for help. That is where the actual problem lies. Many of them prefer to suffer in silence. They seldom reach out to even their loved ones. They think that probably people won't understand or don't think the way they think. So I think the best thing is, at least what has worked for me, is speaking out. Or like Arif said, fake it till you make it. Tell yourself that everything, all is well, all is well. I think that also works for some. Now, Arif spoke about many kinds of stress, and I think in the present world, you don't really need a reason to get stressed out. Even not getting enough likes on social media is a reason to get stressed out. I see so many of them getting into that track. Now, let me go to Coach Syed. Coach Syed, Arif spoke about taking ownership and taking action, which is an important aspect about how we look at things. However, time and again, we have seen people indulge in practices that increases their stress level. Can you talk about some of those examples that you have seen around in your environment, your surrounding, where people have indulged in these kind of activities and invariably increase their stress for them and their family?
Thank you, Jyotika. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, actually, I liked when Arif mentioned that stress is there to help. And this is a news, and we should explore this area. And second most important thing he said, I think, is yes, when we are under stress, when we are in kind of trouble, we need to talk to somebody. You call him a mentor, you call him a coach, you call him anybody, but you need, talking to somebody, I think definitely will help. Having said that, we have various stress in various directions, or from various directions, you can say. Mainly work, your finances, your relationships, and your health. And how often we fall to it, and how much of it we get, and how we are handling it. This is all about that, how best we can manage that. But I would like to put the whole of this into two categories. What I have experienced in my life and what I have seen in my life is that most of the stress that we have is actually self-inflicted. Nobody is doing nothing. You are putting onto your own head. Like we have an old saying, something is flying and you are picking it up and putting it on your head. So it's like that. Stress is, mostly it is self-inflicted. And the next worst thing is that being in, especially in Asian countries, we have a social pressure. And this is another category which again has a major role in stress. Now, when it comes to self-inflicted stress, there are few main things. One is that living beyond your means. And impulse buying for others or for somebody's sake, or you start too many things. And especially in my professional career, I have seen people, they are doing 10 things at one time, either juggling 10 jobs at one time or trying to learn 10 things at one time. This is all pressure. Nobody is giving you, you're adding up to yourself because you want to have that maybe a latest mobile, or maybe you want to have that whatever those lucrative things, and thus consumerism which pushes at you. In order to seek those things, you are trying to do too many things at one time, which obviously adds some pressure to you. And when I say self-inflicted, what happens is we don't set any boundaries to ourselves, or we don't set proper kind of lines on draw lines. What let me share one example. Recently, what happened is one of my friend, he wanted to buy a car. Now this guy has already car. Let us take this first. He has already car. It's fine. It's working fine. All right, but it's a little bit small, and he wanted to go for a bigger car. So he told me, I have a budget of 10 lakhs, out of which actually 2 lakhs I have to borrow. Okay, and he saw some small SUVs like I think Minu, or Hyundai Manu or something like that, and some Sonnet from I think Kia, and he even booked one of those. I think he booked Sonnet. Then what happened? His boss calls him and says, no, I don't recommend that you go for such a small thing. You should go for a bigger one. So he goes to Creta. Now Creta, when he went there, the starting range is 13.5. Then when he saw that car, it is like just a box. There's nothing much in it. Then he said, no, I need LCD here. The sales guy, I was there with him. And the sales guy said, no problem, sir, we'll arrange that. It's 1 lakh more, 14.5, you will get an LCD. Then he said, there are no alloy wheels. Then he said, no problem, sir, we'll arrange them, 1 lakh more. Like that, he ended up paying 16 plus for that car. Now you see, his budget was 10 lakhs out, in which he was already borrowing 2 lakhs. Now he bought something which is over 16 lakhs. That means he borrowed over 8 lakhs, for which he is going to pay EMIs, for which he is going to pay interest. So this is all pressure which he added on to himself. He could have postponed his buying car because he has a car, it's working fine. So these are the kind of things we often do. And personally speaking, I have done it also. Especially when it comes to impulse buying, things that you buy because they are there on discount, or because you always thought you should buy, So these are the things that we should always avoid. These are the things actually really adding pressure onto you, because you have, your resources are 10 and you're trying to live a life which is 12 or 15. That's where the real problem is. And the second problem is the social pressure. People do things often because they think of others, what they will think, what they will say, who is there? I want to ask everybody here a question. Today, suppose you spent 1 crore on performing one marriage, and you ended up in, let's say, loans. Tomorrow, all those people will come and pay your loans. Nobody will come and pay your loans. Nobody will stand with you. Because I have seen in my life people who have spent beyond their means to perform a marriage. And we always have reasons. We say, no, this is first marriage at home, so it has to be grand. Everybody has to come. Or this is the last marriage at home, and everybody have to come, and this has to be grand. And what society will think, and I have an image, and I have this and that and all. So these are the things that we are adding onto ourselves, and unless we control this, unless we have a check on this, I think we continue to live under this pressure. And this pressure is totally avoidable, can be controllable, and you can do without it.
Yes, I totally agree with what you say, Coach Syed. Loans could be probably low-lying fruits, easy to get for some, but it can create devastating effects if you do not manage it well. And as far as impulse buying is concerned, I think I'm also very guilty, especially when I walk into the supermarket, I go with one list and I come back home with a completely different list, ending up buying things that I practically do not require. Now, you told us a few stories, your own experiences that resonated well, I'm sure, with the audience as well. Can you also give us a few tips on how this can be managed? Because societal pressure is something that is deep rooted and ingrained in a society as well as in our system. But how could one manage this?
See, societal pressure comes from the point of the image that you are projecting yourself to be. I always say that keep your cards open. When you're X, project yourself as X. Problem comes when you are X and you project yourself as 10X. So in order to cover that 10X gap, you pretend and you project yourself as something which you are not, which you cannot. And this has an enormous pressure on you. And this is totally available. Nobody is going to judge you, or nobody is going to, nothing is going to happen if you say what you are. This is unnecessary, because once a long time ago, it happened to me that I was in Mumbai. I met a guy, and he was a young guy, but he was looking shabby. And so I asked him, what's going on? He said, I am here for a couple of years in Mumbai, and I'm jobless and doing half-hearted things. I said, why? What's the problem? Why don't you go back home? Because he's not from Mumbai, he's from Andhra, you know that. He said, I set off from my home because I had got a job outside in a foreign country. So I came to Mumbai to visa process and all these things. But when I reached Mumbai, I realized that something went wrong and I did not have that job. But since I told my people that I'm already going some foreign country, so I did not feel like going back and facing them. So I prefer to stay here. So what kind of false image are you projecting yourself? You keep telling everybody that you went, but you are still here. This false image has costed him his so much time and pressure on himself. This is unnecessary, So what I would say always is keep your cards open, live within your means, and set boundaries. And if your resources are 10, set your boundaries to limit 8. Okay, then be mindful. Be mindful. Know where it is coming from, because most of the pressure is coming from yourself actually. Because your interpretation of what others are thinking, your interpretation of the things around you or what's happening around you. So be mindful of that. And at the same time, don't be caught up in others' perception, others' perspective, what others are thinking, how others are judging. Somebody can tell you you're not beautiful. Somebody can tell you you are not good at your work. Somebody can tell you you cannot make it. Don't give a damn to you. You are what you are and you live your life. And be pragmatic. Be practical.
Yes, absolutely. Lovely tips. But again, so for some people it's easier said than done. But it's high time people understand that even if it's easier said than done, you still have to do it if you really want your well-being. Thank you very much, Coach Said. Now I'd like to go to Coach Uzma. But before that, I'd like to ask the audience. I'm sure audience has already heard, now you've heard Coach Arif and Coach Said speaking about two different aspects. Now I'd like to ask you all, what is that? Take a moment to introspect and think, what are those impulsive self-inflicted stress that you have, or in self-inflicted stress that you have witnessed in your life that you would like to, if you're comfortable enough, you could put it in the chat box. But take a moment to think and see that how have you handled stress in your life? So the first question is, what is that self-inflicted stress that you have in your life, and how have you handled it? If you can let the comments keep coming in the chat box. So we'll also understand if you all are resonating with this particular topic, because the biggest problem what people have is reaching out and speaking about stress. And today we are here to do exactly that. Now, Coach Uzma, I'd like to ask you this question. Now, Said has spoken about stress related to social pressures, because people are not able to handle social pressures. They want to project an image of themselves. They get into the stress. But there is also stress that comes from your own doing, your own habits. According to you, what are those habits which people can avoid? So first of all, let's talk about those habits that people have within themselves. Like, for example, for me, the biggest stress is whether the door is locked when I'm sleeping. Although they have locked, I have this thing of, going and checking several times, and I get some kind of a stress. So I'm sure there are a lot of these little stress that we have in our day-to-day life. So can you talk a little about these kind of stress, and what is the kind of suggestions that you can give?
Hi everyone, good morning. It's really strange that we are discussing stress on a Saturday morning. I mean, it's weekend, right? But you see, fear, known, unknown, real, perceived, or even imagined, leads to stress. In fact, stress causes anxiety, and this anxious state can continue within you after the stressful situation may have subsided like a long time ago. That's because like you get used to things, you also get used to the feeling of being under stress. Stress also causes you to be in this emotional inertia where you keep feeling anxious, and even when there is no actual tension, you may come up with smaller things in your mind to keep yourself occupied and in that state of stress. Relationships have definitely become more emotional in the past 2 years, right? Especially the last 1.5 year because of the pandemic, but not necessarily in a positive way. So when you are at loggerheads with a loved one, the stress can reach another level because work may last for 8 to 12 hours every day, but our relationships are a part of us 24/7. I happen to be someone, I mean, Jyotika, when you said that you worry about the door being locked and whether you have turned the tap off and stuff, I happen to be someone who worries quite a bit. So I think it would be safe to say that people who worry too much can be called worriers. Mind it, I said worriers and not warriors, although they may constantly be at war with these nagging emotions. So when you have this tendency to worry, you overthink things and it becomes your way of life. You find yourself thinking, analyzing, reanalyzing practically everything that happens. Now, this has its advantages, like you always get prepared before the due date. Like when you're supposed to get work done by a certain date, you're always prepared before time. You may even be more prepared than other people who may be going through the same situation as you. But the disadvantages, the negatives, they cannot be ignored. When a stressful situation occurs and your heart rate begins to go up, your hands become sweaty, you start looking for an escape, or you get into that Rambo mode, ready to fight, all of this happens in full throttle. This two option response stems from the hormone adrenaline, but overexposure to this hormone can be damaging to health. Adrenaline also controls the ability of your body to feel pain. This is why injured people have still been able to run away from a physical assault or fight back. We hear those stories in news, right? However, sometimes the body will release this hormone even when you're not facing actual danger. Also, adrenaline causes a release of glucose. So when no imminent danger is present, that extra energy has no use. And this can leave the person feeling restless, irritable, jittery, and nervous. The other stress hormone, which also is known as our body's alarm, it's cortisol. It works to control your mood, motivation, fear, and it plays an important role in how your body manages carbohydrates, fats, proteins, and it also regulates your blood pressure and sugar levels again, which is why we crave all the high calorie, low nutrition junk like chips, cookies, and desserts when we feel stressed or low. When you understand the role of stress hormones in regulating glucose in your body, you begin to realize how stress can also cause type 2 diabetes. So now we realize why they say that people who are stressed out are more prone to diabetes, right?
Right.
Jyotika.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Isma. Certainly, I mean, even these little stress can add to your health complications. That is so true, which we often underestimate. I think we don't even think that these kind of small issues also can lead to health problems. Now, earlier we were trying to show you a slide, and unfortunately, Heyman's connection got dropped. So I'll just quickly share the slide, which is important before I proceed. Let me just show you the research that was done recently. This was done in India, and the statistics related to the sample size in India. Sample size is 10,000 people. Now, what this slide says is that the pandemic was not that bad in terms of the pandemic was not all that bad to family life. It improved relations, family, nature, and self-health. And these are the various results that they have got. Relation with family improved, relation with colleagues, well, relatively not, but it was unaffected. Relation with the boss also was unaffected. But overall relation, as far as relationship is concerned, it is not bad. But look at this. Working from home was perceived as negative by most respondents. And which is the first factor? Working from home increased office workload, 81%. Work from home made it more difficult to balance office and household chores, 60%, which means it clearly shows that work from home was adding to the stress. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier, this particular slide. Look at the different reasons what people have revealed, or the survey has revealed. People were worried more on the shortfall of their money. Losing employment was 51%, as against feeling lonely was 46%, feeling anxious and worried constantly, probably without any reason, was 52%. Some people didn't even have rest hours. That was also a source of worry, which is 55%. So this is a very, very informative survey that was conducted, which clearly shows that work-related stress has increased drastically. And now here I see in the chat box, Afreen also says that she's worried about losing job. That is also, so this particular survey clearly indicates what she's saying. And that's what most of them feel. Now let's go to, while talking about work, let's go to Coach Hemant Jain. He's been a change management consultant and dealing with people at the organization level for quite a number of years. Now, Hemant, relationship has got stress. It's got into a stressful mode for many. One cannot deny that, we are pretty much on a higher stress level. So can you talk about managing stress on the work front? How can people manage work stress and their relationship with their colleagues and their bosses while they're working most of the time at home? Over to you, Hemant.
Thank you. Thank you. I think taking cue from what Afreen said, job loss has always been a worry for a typical salaried person. In the past 15 months with the lockdowns, businesses got impacted significantly, which led to quite a bit of job loss happening in reality. I mean, in Dubai, when I've heard of at least 10% cut down in workforces across the board, and that much less population now. Now, with that kind of a fear, which is pretty much global right now, where everybody has known or seen somebody at close quarters losing their jobs in their office, in their close circles, that fear becomes very real. And there is an immense pressure on people because of this. So people who obviously lost their jobs have got tremendous pressure and stress because of that, because now their source of income is gone. But let's look at people who are with a job. They live in the constant fear of job loss, even while they have the job. Second, the workload has increased because the quantity of work never decreased. Even with less people, the work is still there. So what was done by 6 people is now being done by 4 or by 3, or in worst cases, even by 1 or 2. So the workload has exponentially increased, and most employees are not, do not have the courage to go and tell their boss that I can't manage it, I can't do it, because the fear of job loss is preventing from them doing that. So immense pressure and leading to a lot of stress. Now let's look at the working style. The working style pretty much moved from in-person conversations and in-person working to remote working. So just like now your interactions with people was reduced to dealing with them on screens. At least some of us are on video right now, but the vast majority is not. So if this was a meeting where you were looking at a screen full of boxes in which there were supposed to be people, more than half of them are blank or black or non-moving images. This has removed the human touch, the personal touch, all the interaction which used to happen of having to deal with humans. Coming to the pandemic days, when we used to go to office, work with people, spend the whole day at office and then come home, the office environment had natural stress busters built all across the day. From the morning when you entered in the office and went to your desk, all the way saying good mornings and hi, hello to people, to those informal chats you would have with people, your conversations with people at the water cooler or going for tea and snacks in the afternoon or in the evening, which many people would refer to as wasting time. But all those moments were stress busters. Having lunch with your colleagues together, it was a natural stress buster. There was a lot of team bonding, connecting with people at an informal level, knowing people, having somebody to share your life with. Now, all that has practically disappeared. Now, you meet people in Teams or Zoom, and things are very, very business-like, very little informal chat, and you're hopping from one meeting to other like a robot. This all has led to immense amount of stress because now it's only work, no relationship, no human touch. The office environment used to have this nice balance. So for me, I think we need to reverse some of this. We need to bring in some of those informal chats. Meetings should not be half an hour or 1 hour. They should be 25 minutes or 55 minutes. Allow 5 minutes of time for people to join in, have a quick chat, or just de-stress between two meetings. Meet people, if not in office, at least online, without an agenda, without a business discussion or a work related discussion. Meet them as you would meet them in office. Have those informal chats. If it's extremely important to bring in those informal conversations and those human connections back into the office environment. We have to find those moments of solace in the island of chaos. Extremely important. Jyotika, you're on mute.
Wow, Hemant, that's a poetic end to your entire narrative. What was that? You have to find moment of solace in the island of chaos. Wow, excellent. Well, Hemant, I do agree that you definitely brought some nostalgic memories back. And walking in that corridor, I can definitely resonate with those chit chats, because there was a time when Chinatown movie, the Hindi movie Chinatown, was being directed in my office building. And I remember leaving everything and running to take a picture with Kareena Kapoor and Shahid Kapoor. So those were the memories that I'm really thinking of, and you brought them back. Thank you very much. So now, before we've pretty much covered, I think, large areas or many topics related to stress. Now, this is a topic which is a huge topic on its own, and probably even if we sit for days together, we'll not be finishing it. But before we move to now I think I'll keep the floor open to the audience, but before we move to the audience, this entire session won't be complete if we do not touch into this important area of how to handle stress. And to say what it is, I will hand over the screen to Arif, who will give us a live demonstration of how you can handle stress. Right, Arif? Over to you. But before that, we need an audience who can keep your video open, because there's a bit of, well, let me not keep the secret. Yeah, please, if you can keep your videos on, so it will help us to also interact with you and help Arif to do his job well.
Hi, everyone. So can everybody come on video, please? Yeah, so let's come on video for a quick 2-3 minutes maybe, and we'll do something which can help you burst your stress.
We still have half the people on video. Ladies and gentlemen, I just talked about the importance of being on video, showing up.
Khadija, Priyanka, Divya, please open your videos.
Divya, Harshvi, As, Arshad, Isha.
Okay, so we were talking about that whenever there is a stress, usually there is a person or whom we blame, that okay, that person can be the reason of all that stress, whether somebody at home or somebody in the office, right? So one thing is, as we spoke, we need to dissociate that problem with the person. But what you can do is actually, do some kind of workout which makes you feel better and burst your stress. So we'll do a quick 2-minute workout. So please open your videos and join me. Can everybody remove their virtual background and let's have a quick workout. Am I visible? Okay, can you stand up? Okay, 30 seconds of jumping jack. A simple exercise. Just 30 seconds. Now, let's kick out the, okay, so let's kick out the stress from your body. Okay, what you have to do is just kick.
Okay, while you're kicking, please keep some safe distance from furniture, especially your laptop.
Okay.
While kicking, maybe they can imagine their bosses, maybe.
Okay, now we can punch that stress. Okay, ready? Punch as hard as you can. Yes. Okay. Okay, relax.
Arif, you went on mute.
How do you feel? So Ranjit, I saw you enjoying the workout.
Yes, Ranjit is a yoga expert, by the way. He gives sessions. He's a Toastmaster.
Great. So workout and being active is actually makes your body stronger, and it helps you to break that chain of vicious cycle which is connecting your brain and your body. When you are physically healthy, it affects your brain, and when your brain is stressed, it affects your body. So you are able to break that stress cycle, that vicious cycle, right? So work out, eat healthy, be healthy.
Thank you, Arif. And let's give Arif a huge round of applause for this workout morning. Fantastic, Arif. I'm sure everyone is rejuvenated, or at least have changed their state of mind, because changing state of mind requires you to get up from your chair and move a little bit. Wonderful. It's now time to take questions from the audience, and I keep the floor open. Who would like to go first with their questions regarding stress? It doesn't necessarily have to be a question. You can also talk about your own experience. Over to the audience. If we can have your videos open, it will be great to interact. Anupam, would you like to say something?
Hi, everybody. Very good morning. Thank you, ma'am, for yeah, great presentation by all the coaches. Thank you very much. So yes, I mean, I have had my own share of issues. I was discussing with Arif the other day. I have had my own journey, but I'll sum it up. Ki, um, that the strive for a balance, whether it's professional or personal or exercise or sleep, for a balanced life, that is what has helped me thus far. From the finance standpoint, even I'm a learner. In fact, I'm very bad at it. So I'll tell you this: what happened. Ki, since last August, I have bought a product of a special company which is named after a fruit. And that company has its own pride and they price their products a little higher and they have their own ecosystem. So if you buy a laptop, naturally you will buy a phone, then you will buy their pods, then you will buy their watch. So it's that fruit company which I'm right now. The fruit company has sort of emptied my bank balance, and I end up and I used to get these like a child, he will crave for a toy. Similarly, I used to crave कि मेरे पास में ये नहीं है, मेरे पास में वो नहीं है. So keep on thinking that every day, like as if it's my dream girl or something like that. So it became a mental obsession in that way. And now when I bought everything and there is nothing left right now except the pad which they make, the tablet which they made, I bought everything in the kitty. Now I feel कि why did I buy it? I mean, I could have invested in a personal one-on-one yoga class for a period of say 1.5 months for the same amount. Or so I'm into cycling. I could have bought a nice, good quality Scott or a Bianchi, like nice imported cycle, and that would have sort of helped me more. So, but then what happens? So this is what happened. So I'll tell you what I think. So all this shopping happened in the COVID period since last August. Now, when you go to say a Chroma or when you go to say a store, the online purchase has made it so difficult for the stores to keep all the items because people are ordering online so much that these offline stores where you can actually go and buy and you can see a product, you can use a product, you can put that bud on your air and you can see whether it matches your device or not. This has become so difficult. And because of that, people end up buying the products which they think they will work for their ecosystem, or they think they will work with their particular brand. And so what do I say, that the choices have reduced also. And I felt this when I went for a watch or a pod, I ended up buying the same fruit company product.
Yeah, true.
They weren't as helpful, and it's lying right now. I don't even use them. I mean, I find them very, very clumsy to wear that watch or the pod. I'm listening to you like this and it's okay. But,
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I think, that's what Coach Mohammed Syed said. The difference, when we understand the difference between the need and the want, you will pretty much get sorted out with regards to your shopping. The impulsive buying will stop. And Anupam, you said it all. Thank you very much for sharing your feedback. We had Ranjit. Ranjit, are you here? I think Ranjit is not on. Yeah, Ranjit, you've been practicing yoga for a long time, I understand, right? You also give classes.
Sorry, Jyotika. Sorry, I couldn't hear because there's some.
Okay, Ranjit, you've been practicing yoga for a long time, right? You also take classes and sessions regarding. I mean, yoga is one of the ways in which you can de-stress, right?
Yes. Yes.
So,
yes.
what do you have to say on how people can actually handle their mind better?
Yeah, Jyotika, see, what I would say is it's all about habits that we develop. So to get into yoga also, it took me time. So I will narrate my incident, what happened with me. Initially, even I had this stress about losing the job and all those things. But it's all about attachment. What I would say is all about attachment. when you get rid of the attachment, when you break that boundary, then the opportunities are unlimited to all of us. So when I got rid of that attachment, then everything became smooth. So I set the goal for myself. Okay, I have to run my own business. So this is my thing. This is my goal. And how long will it take to do that? So I set the goal and I started planning. And when I did that, I started that. I came to know that my mind is not under my control, so I had to do something for that. So I started with the exercises initially, some cardios and even some Zumba and all other things, but nothing means it happens to for each individual it's different. So some it may work, some it may not work. So I tried testing each and everything, and then I finally ended up in yoga, which really helped me a lot. And in yoga, I tried a lot of gurus, and then finally, even now, I'm in search of the right guru. So yoga, if you practice it every day, if you make it as a routine, then all your stress will be taken care, because then
Yes.
you will be mindful about whatever you are doing in life. So when you are
Yes.
mindful about whatever you are doing in life, I don't think there will be any stress. And
Yeah.
when you're, yeah, so get rid of the attachments
Yeah.
and be mindful of whatever you are doing. Yes.
Yes, very
That's
well
me.
said, Ranjit, and thank you very much. He said a very important, he made a very important point. Attachment, get rid of attachment. That is attachment with detachment. When we practice this, I think most of our worries will go. We love our job so much and we fall into a dark hole when the job stops loving us. We think the job loves us so much as we do. So when we break this attachment, everything is sorted out. Thank you very much, Ranjit. Would anyone like to add their comments, your feedback, or speak to us? Yukti,
Hello,
do you want to
everyone.
say something? Yes. Hi, Yukti.
Yeah, so it's great to have you all and being here in this, session today. I happen to just come because I found the topic interesting and very close to my heart. That is stress. I just jump in to hear all of you about stress. And yes, I have my own way of dealing with stress, and that is what I, in fact, spread about. And my way of dealing with stress or even everything is bringing attention to your breath. Yes, breathing is very, very powerful. I have experienced it in my life, and I can even relate to what Sanjeet Shetty has said, because I have been a digital marketer, PR manager, turned breathing fitness expert, and now I'm promoting breathing. I've been into a very, very stressful, depressed state. From there to here, it has been a turnaround story for me. And I realized in my life that we have never given importance to breathing. People are literally unaware of this hidden power within themselves, that is their very own breath. Even if you are doing yoga, if it is not along with the breathing, if you're not focusing on breathing, then it is just simple exercises, nothing else. It's the same thing you do Zumba or anything. But the moment you bring attention to your breath, you have no idea how powerful it is, how you can achieve your peak performances. I have experienced that. I have experienced the more you connect to your breath. See, it's very instant. It's like this. You're feeling a stress, it affects your breathing. You can feel whenever you are in anger, anxiety, how your breathing get distorted. You can feel you are started taking shallow breathing, chest breathing. You start taking that spasmodic breathing, restrictive, constricted breathing. The moment you feel those surge of emotions, and if you just reset this button, if you generate this awareness that my breathing is getting distorted, I need to work on my breath, start taking simple deep breaths. It's a huge stress releaser there, and then you don't need to even, it's very instant. You don't need to do anything at that very point of time. Just cultivating that awareness towards your breath is very powerful, very instant, guys. Otherwise I can keep on going about it.
Thank you very much, Yukti. I do agree that breathing is something that we have to focus on. It has a bundle of, I think, a wealth of prescriptions and remedies lying in the breathing exercise alone, which people often fail to focus on. Thank you very much, Yukti. Is there anyone else who would like to speak about their experience with stress?
I would like to add a little bit to what Yukti said. Actually, it is the
Yes.
smaller things that make a whole lot of difference. Okay, so if you just cut down on caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, that will make a whole lot of difference in a very short amount of time. Mindfulness practices where obviously breathing comes into the picture, and do not underestimate the power of humor. It really helps. I mean, if you try and smile even consciously for 2 to 3 minutes every day, you will feel in just a few hours that your mood changes a little bit. Okay. Most importantly, balance. Do not forget that test, that meeting, presentation, whatever, it's not more important than your health or well-being. You come first. And this is something I cannot stress enough of, is reach out and get help. Speak to someone who will understand your concern. It could be a loved one. And do not hesitate to even go for professional help. Consult a psychologist or your coach, because in our part of the world, getting the professionals into the picture when you are having some mental issue, like even emotional problems or any trouble of the mind, it is a huge taboo, and we need to change that.
Yes, totally. I totally agree with this point, that the moment you go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, the perception from what people have is totally different. And this is something that people have to know, that things have to change. And there's one more thing that Uzma is exposing yourself to greenery and the outdoor activity. This can have a major impact in the way you do things. We are always inside the house. We love, even COVID or not, we still love confining ourselves to these four walls. Get out there, breathe some fresh air. So for me, obviously, I totally agree with reaching out to people as well. I think that worked for me when I was going through my own share of stress. I reached out to people, I mean, especially my husband and my friend, spoke to them, and that's the way I was able to come out of it. And much of it I have discussed in my own book that I released last year. So that was another de-stress activity that I did, that sharing my experience with others. It's not wrong to talk about your experience. I think when Deepika Padukone had her share of stress of the incident of depression, people were really surprised that she had the courage to come out and speak. There's nothing wrong. When you actually share it with others, it becomes a guide to someone else's life, because you could save someone else's life. And that, at least I did it in my own way. And so have the other coaches, by sharing their own story in their own book that they have written. Having said that, I think it's time for us to now leave. And all right, Hemant, you want to say something? I'm so sorry, I didn't see you. Right.
You talked about connecting to nature and greenery, so I just changed my background to green. And what I essentially want to do is I want to connect a few dots. We talked about, we touched upon job loss, right? And job loss comes from the fear of job loss and stress comes from the space that we worry about our future and future finances. We also talked about loans, right? Saeed talked about how people are taking loans, and the loans get expanded and they become bigger because suddenly their wants or their needs don't match, and the wants become bigger than their needs. We also heard about the fruit company and how you buy one product and it tends to get into more and more products. Now just connect all these things together. Our possessions or our attachment to our attachments, once we increase that, it only means increased financial liability, which means less money with us today, which increases our fear for our future. And hence the job becomes so super critical for our own existence that the job's existence becomes a stress for us. So if you were to just able to balance it out a little, you need to have fun you need to have your possessions, you need to have fun today, but keeping a balance between what you have and what you save for the future to build your future, so that you don't get stressed out because of that. It's extremely important. All this will help you balance out your life and reduce the stress each of these things can give you. So I just wanted to connect these dots which we had like spread out across the session, but for me it was like just all the whole puzzle was falling into place.
Yes, absolutely, Hemant. So well said. And he has kind of concluded or brought everything together so beautifully. Thank you very much, Hemant, for that. And now it's time to quickly wrap the session. But we can only wrap this session when I can have the last parting remarks or parting message from our coaches. Let's start with Uzma. Uzma, what is your parting message to the audience today?
Do not worry too much because nobody got out of this world alive.
So true. Absolutely. Absolutely. Syed, what would be your parting remark or your message to the audience? Syed, you're muted.
Yeah, as we succeed, it is important that we stay firm on the ground. Don't surge your standard of living, rather you upsurge your standard of giving, because giving is satisfying.
Very deep, profound. Thank you very much. Arif, what about you?
So I would say, take ownership of your life, decide and act. So there can be, all the fences throughout, but free your mind.
Free your mind. Absolutely. And Hemant, what about you?
Well, increase those informal interactions with your friends and colleagues. Find your moments of solace in the island of chaos. Find your ways of dealing with the stress.
We have seen creative ways, profound messages from all our coaches. While you search for that island of solace, I know that stress is a factor that cannot be avoided 100%, but it can definitely be managed. Because if it's not going to be managed, you know that where you're heading to. There are various ways. That's just a reach. It's not a big deal. There are very simple techniques that you can make it a part of your life. All you have to do is create that mindfulness, create that awareness. Yes, the reach is just a call away. Like Uzma said, at the end of the day, we are not going to get out of this world alive. But while you're here, might as well live healthy and live happy. With that, I now close the session. Thank each and every one of you for being a part of the session and adding value and charm to the session yet again. Our next session would be, we have the flyer, right, Hemant? We're coming back with a very important topic, which is not spoken often, but this became the topic that was of discussion during the COVID, that is life skills. Life skills is something that people often underestimate. Recently, I saw, yes, this is something that we're going to talk about next time. It's not spoken much widely in any of the platforms, but life skills is something that matters a lot. Whether it's cooking, washing your clothes, or even taking the dog out for a walk. These are the skills that you need to know. The other day, I recently saw on TV a girl who was shown a twig, and then she said that this was kadi patta, whereas it was palak or something like that. And she didn't know the difference between kadi patta and palak. So this is, and we take pleasure out of it. We think that we become great people by not knowing the essentials. But to be honest, anyone who eats should also know to cook. This is the basic fundamental of life. And that is what we're going to discuss next time. And I request each one of you to be present, mark your registrations, fill your registrations and be there so that we can have yet another great session together. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself. Goodbye.
Thank you.